Your Majesty, dear board, dear deans, dear fellow students, dear faculty, dear friends. Me standing here today as the representative of nearly 40,000 students, domestics as well as internationals, is a product of the hard work of a lot of people. The stories of the paintings in this hall is quite a fairy tale, including clergy, autocratic rulers, students fighting off the Swedes, and professors celebrating the first Nordic Commonwealth of Scholars. But also the unpainted stories shape the pictures of revolt, hard work, and student engagement that have led to the tradition of the Student Council giving our annual ceremonial say in the matters of this great university. Me standing here today as me is not a product of Swedes, nor of kings or clergy, but it is, however, quite a tale worth telling. The reason I am here today is, of course, my mother. See, as a young woman growing up in the US in the 60s, this was a place where kids from the same village as her, but from the wrong side of the rail tracks, never took piano lessons, never went to summer camp, and most importantly of all, never got to go to the same schools as she did. So, as soon as my mother got the chance, she decided to travel to Europe to look at some of these alternatives to the so-called land of the free and see what it was like over there. After experiencing the warm sunsets of Salamanca, the waffles of Brussels, and farming in Norwegian fields, she came to Copenhagen. And what she found here, she always tells me, she did not believe existed outside fairy tales. The country my mother encountered upon her first entrance in the fall of 1971 was a country of social progress, of liberty, of education for all. It was a country of spirit. See, while my mother was considered a brave yet odd occurrence back in the early 1970s, I, amongst my fellow students today, find people from around the globe. Mobility programs have given students from various backgrounds the opportunity of studying abroad, something that was a reserved right back in my mother's time. Most of us here today speak more than 2 languages. We have all traveled to foreign countries. Many of us work and study across borders, and some of us even have our family living across oceans. All of these relations, I believe, can be summed up into what we call internationalization. And it is a fact. It is reality. All students, as well as faculty and staff, are part of it. Therefore, it is time to act. We need to internalize the concept of internationalization into the very soul of this university. And yes, I know it's not an easy task, especially not for a 534-year-old university. It's a matter of maintaining our identity, as my mother loved it the first time she met her fellow students in Denmark. It was what made her stop here, but especially what made her stay here. It's a matter of having a student-centered approach. We need Copenhagen to be welcoming to all kinds of students. And it's a matter of not focusing on language alone, but making internationalization an integral part of every academic environment in a way that makes sense to every specific discipline in its very own way. I think most people agree that we should pursue the task of being more international. The question remains, however, not why we should do it, but how we do it. I believe this can be answered in 2 ways. There is, no offense, the way of government. The political system already puts a lot of pressure on us to get us more international. It's easy to predict how this will look. It'll be composed of strategic goals pointing in several directions. There will for sure be quantitative measures. There will be milestones without root in reality. And of course, there will be no extra funding for building these air castles. Well, on the other hand, there is the way that works. I know. If following this way, we decided to take a broad debate among scholars and students about internationalization. We ask students of every study how they think internationalization should work. We We include our international staff and students into these debates, and of course, we start speaking English when they're present, not only to be polite, but because we need the input, ideas, and participation of all. The funny part is, however, we already know how to initiate such a process together. 3 years ago, we launched a huge process of rehabilitation of the educations of this university. Through surveys, debates, and innovation camps, we developed both strategy and reorientation of the study programs. It led to new didactical endeavors, as well as recognition of the very low amount of lectures. And as we all know, and as already mentioned, the student proposal of ensuring all bachelor students a guaranteed minimum of 12 hours of lessons per week was adopted as a result of this process. Whichever way we choose, let me warn you, there are no quick fixes in the process of making this university truly international. We need not only language skills, we need international skills. We cannot just make a quick fix deciding that all master programs should be taught in English. Firstly, studies such as my own law, Latin, or Danish will lose part of its core if taught only in English. Secondly, simply Google translating existing courses into English is not enough. And thirdly, some of our teachers are just not yet good enough to teach us in English. We cannot just make a quick fix by focusing on internationalizing a group of students that are found to be talented. This is both when it comes to Danish students who were sent abroad, as well as the internationals we invite here. Finally, we cannot make a quick fix by relying on internationalization as an extracurricular activity. The decision of internationalization should be taken together with respect of the unique academic traditions, but no one should miss the opportunity of engaging in the international student and scholar community, in Copenhagen as well as abroad. We must strive for a holistic approach to our education. We must never strive towards quick fixes. With these words, I would like to direct your attention towards another issue going on right now. I speak, of course, of the tsunami of new regulations pouring in these days. My abnormal focus on quick fixes is not accidental. Both our minister, but especially also the rector and deans, have a sincere and at times even blindfolded belief that quick fixes will solve all problems. Once and for all, let me settle one thing. I do not oppose that the time it takes to travel from freshman to master is the time that it's planned to take. But I do truly oppose quick fixes with the purpose of pumping low-quality graduates into a labor market, especially in a time of sky-high youth unemployment. Dear Minister, you are whipping us through our education like a cowboy whips his cattle headed to the slaughterhouse. And dear Rector and Deans, you are acting weak and cowardly when you so hastily deprive students of their right to leave of absence, their chance to get a foot in the labor market, and their chance to try new and innovative ways of immersion. And you are doing this solely in the name of student efficiency. As the Faculty of Health puts it in their recent answer to the hearing of this reform, and I quote, "The reform will lead to a lower and less academic level, especially for bachelor students." During the last weeks, I've spoken to quite a few of you present here today. You express your worries, your disregards, and your helplessness when we talk. You are true academics. You know the importance of time for trial and error, both from your research, but also from your own life, I'm quite sure. Dear faculty and staff, do not deprive the coming generations of students of this opportunity. Do not let yourself be turned into cowboys whipping cattle. I've spoken of internationalization and of educational quality. And even though many of us speak more than 2 languages, I bet that most of you don't understand the phrase on the front of this podium. It is ancient Greek, and it says, "In pneumati kai aletheia," in spirit and truth. I will let in spirit and truth be my final words of today. Let us not, in the desire for effectiveness, forget the importance of spirit in the formative role of education. And let us never, in the name of incentives, neglect the truth and forget the importance of critical thought. Thank you very much.